At my 12-year reunion, the mean girls laughed. Still single and working retail? Their husbands joined in. I nodded, just trying to get by. Then the principal announced the evening's sponsor. My multi-million-dollar foundation that employed their husbands. So Elena, tell us about your career aspirations, Jessica Martinez announces loudly, turning our corner of the gymnasium into an impromptu stage. She's holding an imaginary microphone, her voice carrying across the reunion like a cruel game show host. Are you hoping to make shift supervisor someday? Maybe assistant manager if you're really ambitious. Her husband Brad jumps in with fake sincerity. What's your 5-year plan, Target or Walmart? The crowd erupts in laughter as I stand there in my discount dress, playing the perfect victim. In 15 minutes, the principal will announce their children's scholarships, funded by the woman they're humiliating. I let my shoulders slump forward, clutching my purse tighter as if it contains my entire life savings. The fluorescent lights overhead cast harsh shadows under my eyes, making me look exactly as tired and defeated as they expect. My Target name tag sits slightly crooked on my faded red polo shirt, the plastic scratched from what appears to be months of honest wear. Every detail of my appearance has been crafted for this moment. Well, I stammer, allowing my voice to crack with nervous laughter. I'm just grateful to have steady work, you know? The economy's been tough and Target treats their team members really well. I fidget with the hem of my thrift store dress, a polyester nightmare I picked up specifically because it screams financial desperation. The fabric pulls slightly across my chest, deliberately chosen too small to suggest I can't afford proper fitting clothes. Before we dive deeper into Elena's carefully crafted performance, if you love stories where patience and intelligence triumph over cruelty, please hit subscribe. It's free and helps us share more satisfying revenge tales. Now let's watch her plan unfold. Jessica's eyes light up with predatory delight. She's gathered quite an audience now, former classmates forming a semicircle around us like spectators at a gladiator match. Some faces show uncomfortable pity, others barely concealed amusement. Ashley Hartwell and Brittany Cole have materialized at Jessica's flanks, their designer cocktail dresses sparkling under the disco ball that hangs over what used to be our high school basketball court. But surely you have bigger dreams, Elena, Jessica continues, her voice dripping with false encouragement. What about college? Didn't you always talk about business school? She turns to address her growing audience. Elena here was actually in advanced placement classes with us. Can you believe that? The crowd murmurs appropriately, their expressions shifting to that particular brand of suburban sympathy reserved for cautionary tales. I can practically hear their internal monologues. There but for the grace of God go I. Thank goodness my children will never end up like this. Brad steps closer, his expensive cologne creating a cloud of masculine superiority around him. His suit probably costs more than I'm supposed to make in 3 months. Community college, maybe? Evening classes. His tone suggests he's being generous by even considering such possibilities. Though I guess when you're working retail hours, it's hard to find time for bettering yourself. I nod eagerly, grateful for this opening in their carefully orchestrated humiliation. Actually, yes. I've been looking into some business programs. Nothing fancy, just basic stuff. Marketing, maybe some accounting. I pull a crumpled brochure from my purse, Riverside Community College's continuing education catalog, carefully worn to suggest it's been handled countless times by desperate hands. The paper trembles slightly as I unfold it, and I'm not entirely acting. Even knowing this is all performance, even with $52 million sitting in various investment accounts, the memory of being genuinely powerless still lives in my bones. The girl who was cornered in a bathroom 12 years ago, her homemade prom dress stained with red punch, exists somewhere deep inside me still. How inspiring, Ashley chimes in, her voice sugary with condescension. It's never too late to start over, right? Even at our age. She delivers this line while smoothing her own dress, a silent reminder that she's never had to start over, never had to rebuild from nothing. Brittany nods sagely as if she's dispensing profound wisdom. My cleaning lady just started taking English classes. She's about your age, I think. Maybe you two could study together. The suggestion hangs in the air like a slap, the connection to my mother's former profession landing exactly as intended. I force my face to brighten with pathetic gratitude. That's so thoughtful of you to suggest. I'd love to meet her. Inside, I'm calculating the mortgage payments on Brittany's McMansion, funded partially by dividends from a tech startup I sold to Google last year. Her cleaning lady probably works harder in a day than Brittany has in her entire privileged life. The gymnasium around us pulses with reunion energy. Streamers in our old school colors hang from the rafters, and a banner reading, McKinley High Class of 2013 12 years strong, stretches across the back wall. Tables covered in white linens display yearbook photos and memorabilia from our senior year, when we all thought we knew how our stories would unfold. A DJ plays hits from our teenage years, the same songs that soundtracked First Loves and Last Chances 12 years ago. Couples dance nearby, their movements comfortable with married familiarity. Former athletes cluster around the trophy case, reliving glory days that grow more golden with each passing year. The popular kids have naturally gravitated back toward each other, their social hierarchies as rigid now as they were in high school. And here I stand in the center of their carefully constructed success, playing the role of the one who got left behind. My appearance tells a story they want to believe, that merit and hard work determine outcomes, that their comfortable lives are earned rather than fortunate, that people like me deserve exactly what we get. The irony tastes sweet on my tongue as Jessica continues her performance, describing various entry-level positions I might aspire to achieve. In my purse, my phone buzzes silently with notifications from my investment app, my real estate management company, my charitable foundation's board of directors. The digital evidence of Elena Martinez Rodriguez's empire sits inches from their mocking faces, invisible and patient. You know what, Elena? Jessica says, reaching the crescendo of her cruel symphony, I think it's wonderful that you're happy with simple goals. Not everyone can handle big responsibilities or make tough decisions. Some people are just meant for supportive roles. Perfect. I let tears form in my eyes, not from her words, but from anticipating the moment when her own children will read about tonight in tomorrow's newspaper, when they'll ask their mother why she was so mean to the lady who paid for their education. The heavy gymnasium doors swing shut behind me with a metallic clang that echoes through my chest. McKinley High's basketball court has been transformed into something resembling a fairy tale ballroom, though the industrial ceiling and painted brick walls can't quite hide their institutional origins. Twinkling fairy lights cascade from the rafters like expensive rain, each strand probably costing more than most families spend on groceries in a week. Round tables draped in crisp white linens dot the polished floor, their centerpieces bursting with roses that were flown in from somewhere far more exotic than our small Midwestern town. I pause just inside the entrance, overwhelmed by the sheer opulence surrounding me. Crystal glasses catch the light from an elaborate chandelier that definitely wasn't here during our senior year. The catering setup spans an entire wall, silver chafing dishes, ice sculptures, servers in crisp black uniforms moving with practiced efficiency. Recognition dawns slowly as I watch the head caterer direct his staff. Martinez Catering Solutions, the company I acquired through a shell corporation 6 months ago, specifically for tonight's event. The irony sends a small shiver of satisfaction through me, though I keep my expression appropriately intimidated by the grandeur. My fellow classmates circulate through the space like peacocks displaying their plumage. Designer suits and cocktail dresses create a sea of expensive fabric, each outfit carefully chosen to broadcast success and status. Wedding rings catch the light with calculated frequency as hands gesture during animated conversations about mortgages in better neighborhoods, children's private schools, European vacations that happen to coincide with business conferences. The registration table beckons from my left, staffed by 3 women whose faces trigger immediate recognition despite the passage of 12 years. Katie Morrison, head cheerleader turned pharmaceutical sales representative, manages the check-in process with the same organizational efficiency she once brought to pep rallies. Beside her, Michelle Torres and Amanda Zhang, former student council president and debate team captain respectively, sort through name tags with manicured nails that have never known manual labor. I approach their table with deliberately hesitant steps, my shoulders curved inward to suggest someone uncomfortable in social situations. The 3 women look up simultaneously, their expressions shifting through a predictable sequence of emotions. First comes the struggle for recognition, my face familiar but not immediately placeable. Then dawning awareness, followed quickly by barely concealed pity disguised as pleasant surprise. Elena Rodriguez. Katie exclaims with the kind of forced enthusiasm cheerleaders perfect in high school and never quite abandon. Oh my goodness, how wonderful to see you. Her voice carries just enough volume to draw attention from nearby conversations, marking this moment as somehow significant. Michelle rifles through the alphabetized name tags with efficient fingers. Here you are, sweetie. Elena Rodriguez. She hands me the plastic badge with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes, the kind reserved for distant relatives at awkward family gatherings. The name tag feels heavier than it should, this simple piece of plastic that will identify me all evening as the girl who stayed behind while everyone else moved forward. You look. Amanda pauses, searching for the appropriate compliment. Exactly the same. Isn't that wonderful? The backhanded nature of the comment hangs in the air between us, suggesting that looking exactly the same at 29 might not actually be wonderful at all. I clip the name tag to my discount dress with fingers that tremble slightly, not from nervousness, but from the effort of maintaining this performance. Thank you so much for organizing all this. It looks absolutely beautiful. My voice carries the right note of wistfulness, someone admiring a world she could never afford to create. The three women exchange a glance that speaks volumes about their assessment of my current circumstances. Katie's smile becomes more maternal, more protective. Well, we're just so glad you could make it, Elena. It's important that everyone from our class is here tonight. Moving away from the registration table, I navigate through clusters of conversation like a ghost haunting her own past. The gymnasium fills with voices layered over background music. A carefully curated playlist of hits from our senior year that triggers involuntary memories of first kisses and last chances. Tom Williams appears at my elbow with the kind of smooth approach that probably serves him well in whatever business he's chosen. Former quarterback turned middle manager, his hairline has receded but his confidence remains intact. Elena Rodriguez. Man, it's been forever. His handshake is firm, practiced, the grip of someone accustomed to closing deals and making impressions. Hi Tom, I respond, allowing my voice to carry the breathless quality of someone unexpectedly noticed by former royalty. You look great. Really successful. The compliment isn't entirely false. Tom does project success, though he has no idea that his recent promotion at Midwest Community Bank came courtesy of my acquisition of their parent company last year. Thanks. You know how it is, corporate life, climbing the ladder. He gestures vaguely toward the crowd, encompassing the entire scope of adult achievement. What about you? What are you up to these days? This question, inevitable as sunrise, requires my most carefully crafted response. Oh, just working retail. Target actually. Nothing too exciting, but it pays the bills. I accompany this admission with a self-deprecating laugh that suggests someone making peace with limited expectations. Tom's expression shifts to something resembling admiration mixed with pity. Hey, honest work is honest work, right? We can't all be CEOs. His attempt at encouragement only emphasizes the gulf he perceives between his success and my supposed failure. Our conversation is interrupted by Sarah Chin, whose approach carries none of Tom's calculated networking energy. Sarah moves with the hurried efficiency of someone juggling multiple responsibilities, her designer dress slightly wrinkled from what appears to be recent interaction with small children. Elena. Her greeting carries genuine warmth that catches me off guard. I was hoping you'd be here tonight. How are you doing? The question comes without the loaded subtext that marked my exchange with Tom. Sarah seems genuinely interested in my well-being rather than cataloging my failures. I'm doing well, thanks for asking, I reply, surprised by the emotion that creeps into my voice. Sarah's kindness feels dangerous to my carefully constructed facade, threatening to crack the emotional walls I've built around this performance. I heard about your mom, she continues softly, her hand briefly touching my arm. Mrs. Rodriguez was such a lovely woman. She cleaned for my family a few times when I was little, and I remember her teaching me to fold fitted sheets properly. She had the most beautiful smile. The mention of my mother nearly derails my entire performance. Sarah's memory is specific and genuine, carrying none of the casual dismissiveness that usually accompanies references to the help. I blink rapidly, fighting tears that have nothing to do with my fictional struggles and everything to do with missing the woman who raised me to be better than the people who looked down on her. Thank you, I manage, my voice thick with emotion I don't have to fake. That means more than you know. As Sarah excuses herself to check on her own table, I scan the room with new awareness of the various social currents flowing around me. Near the far wall, a group of former athletes rehashes glory days that grow more impressive with each retelling. Former band members cluster around the memory table, pointing out younger versions of themselves in faded photographs. And there, near the elaborate bar setup, stands the trinity of cruelty that shaped my high school experience. Jessica Martinez commands attention in a way that hasn't diminished since graduation. Her blonde hair styled in waves that probably required 3 hours and $200 to achieve. Her dress, black, sleek, undoubtedly designer, clings to a figure maintained through expensive personal training and careful nutrition. Ashley Hartwell and Brittany Cole stand at precise angles that frame Jessica while remaining slightly behind, their body language unchanged from the hallways of McKinley High. They're laughing at something Jessica said, their heads tilted at identical angles of appreciation. Even from across the room I can see the glint of expensive jewelry, the confident posture of women who have never questioned their place in the world's hierarchy. Their husbands hover nearby, successful men who married successful women and created successful lives in successful neighborhoods. They gesture with drinks in hand, their conversations presumably covering successful topics like successful investments and successful children's successful achievements. Jessica's eyes sweep the room with the predatory awareness of someone cataloging potential entertainment. When her gaze finds me standing alone near the memorial table, I see recognition flicker across her features. Then something else. A spark of delighted anticipation that makes my stomach clench with remembered fear. She leans toward Ashley and Brittany, whispering something that makes both women turn to look in my direction. The three faces that haunted my teenage nightmares now study me with the same calculating interest they showed before every humiliation they orchestrated. I force myself to look away, pretending to examine the scholarship display board where photographs of deserving students smile from behind glass. The Martinez Foundation for Educational Excellence has funded 12 full scholarships this year, each one a small monument to irony that Jessica couldn't possibly comprehend. My phone buzzes silently in my purse, probably another update from my financial management team, but I ignore it completely. Tonight that world doesn't exist. Tonight I'm just Elena Rodriguez, the girl who never learned to fight back. The predators begin to move. They move with the coordinated precision of apex predators, cutting through the crowd with practiced efficiency. Jessica leads the formation, her high heels clicking against the polished gymnasium floor in a rhythm that sounds like a countdown timer. Ashley and Brittany flank her at perfect angles, their formation unchanged from the hallways of McKinley High where they once cornered terrified freshmen between classes. I grip my plastic cup of punch tighter, the cheap liquid sloshing as my hands begin their calculated tremor. The scholarship display board behind me becomes my anchor, these smiling faces of deserving students serving as silent witnesses to what's about to unfold. The irony burns in my chest. Half these kids will benefit from my foundation while their anonymous benefactor gets publicly destroyed just feet away from their photographs. Elena Rodriguez. Jessica's voice cuts through the ambient chatter like a blade through silk. Her tone carries that perfect blend of theatrical surprise and predatory delight that I remember from bathroom confrontations and lunchroom humiliations. I almost didn't recognize you behind that vintage look. Her eyes perform a deliberate inventory of my appearance, starting with my discount shoes and traveling upward with the slow precision of a medical examiner cataloging injuries. The faded Target polo, the ill-fitting thrift store blazer, the clearance rack accessories, each item receives its due consideration and obvious dismissal. You look. She pauses, savoring the moment like fine wine. Exactly the same. Isn't that wonderful? Some people just have that timeless quality. The backhanded compliment lands exactly as intended, suggesting that looking the same at 29 represents a failure of growth, ambition, and basic adult development. Her smile remains perfectly calibrated, wide enough to appear friendly to casual observers, sharp enough to draw blood up close. Ashley and Brittany position themselves strategically, blocking potential escape routes while maintaining the illusion of casual conversation. Their timing remains flawless after all these years, a choreographed cruelty that needs no rehearsal. Jessica Martinez. I respond with the breathless quality of someone unexpectedly noticed by former royalty. You look absolutely stunning. Marriage clearly agrees with you. She preens at the compliment, her left hand rising to touch her professionally styled hair in a gesture that ensures her massive diamond ring catches the gymnasium lights. Thank you, sweetie. You know how it is. When you find the right person, everything just falls into place. The dig lands precisely where intended, highlighting my single status while celebrating her own coupled success. I allow my smile to falter slightly, a barely perceptible crack in my composure that feeds her satisfaction. Brad, honey, come meet an old friend, Jessica calls to the tall man hovering near the bar. He approaches with the confident stride of someone accustomed to being summoned, his expensive suit tailored to minimize a soft middle and receding hairline that money can't quite fix. His handshake arrives with deliberate force, fingers squeezing mine with the calculated pressure of someone establishing dominance through physical discomfort. Brad Martinez, he announces as if his name should carry weight in my world. I've heard so many stories about Jessica's high school days. The emphasis on stories suggests tales of conquest and triumph, with Jessica as the victorious heroine and people like me serving as cautionary footnotes. His smile carries the practiced warmth of someone who sells insurance policies to people who can't afford to be unprotected. She was quite the accomplished student. I offer weekly, playing my role with self-deprecating perfection. Student Council Honor Society prom queen. I always admired her success. Still do, I imagine, Brad responds with casual brutality. Some people are natural leaders and others. He lets the sentence hang unfinished, the implication clear enough without requiring completion. Ashley's husband materializes beside Brad with the solidarity of men who recognize kindred spirits. Mike Hartwell extends his hand with car salesman enthusiasm, his grip firm but not crushing. He's learned to gauge his audience. Mike Hartwell, Ashley's husband. Great to meet one of the gang from the old days. His assessment of my appearance is more subtle than Brad's but equally thorough. I catch him noting my shoes, my handbag, the obvious signs of someone shopping at stores that cater to stretched budgets and limited options. Mike sells luxury vehicles to people with excellent credit and substantial down payments. He knows exactly what financial struggle looks like. Elena works retail, Jessica announces with the tone of someone sharing fascinating anthropological observations. Target, isn't that right? Such honest, dependable work. The condescension drips from every syllable, transforming my supposed employment into evidence of limited ambition and stunted growth. Ashley nods with theatrical appreciation, as if Jessica has made a particularly insightful observation about the noble nature of service work. How wonderful, Ashley coos with poisonous sweetness. Retail teaches such valuable skills. Customer service, inventory management. Very transferable abilities. The implication hangs heavy, skills that might eventually lead to slightly better retail positions, but nothing approaching real career advancement. Derek Cole joins the growing circle, completing their formation like the final piece of a predatory puzzle. Derek Cole, Brittany's husband. His introduction comes with middle management authority, someone comfortable with supervisory responsibility and quarterly performance reviews. I was just telling Brad here about the importance of staying motivated, even when opportunities seem limited. The conversation flows with practiced cruelty, each participant contributing observations about ambition, drive, and the different paths people choose in life. Their words remain carefully neutral, never crossing into obvious attack, but the subtext cuts deeper than direct insults. I fidget with my target name tag, letting it become a prop that symbolizes everything they believe about my limitations. I'm just grateful to have steady work. I stammer through responses designed to reinforce their perceptions. The benefits are decent and my coworkers are really supportive. Benefits, Mike repeats thoughtfully, as if the concept represents exotic luxury in my world. Health insurance, I hope? So important when you're on your own. The pause before on your own carries weight, highlighting my single status while implying the vulnerability that comes with facing life's challenges without a successful husband's protection. Their wives exchange knowing looks, silent communication about the advantages of choosing correctly when opportunities for security presented themselves. Other classmates begin drifting toward our conversation, drawn by some primitive instinct for witnessing social hierarchy in action. I recognize faces from my carefully maintained files, people whose mortgages flow through banks in my portfolio, whose children attend private schools funded by my educational grants, whose comfortable lives depend on investments they'll never trace back to Elena Rodriguez. Tom Williams approaches with his quarterback confidence slightly dimmed by whatever he's drinking. Everything okay over here? Sounds like you're having quite the reunion. Just catching up with Elena, Jessica responds brightly. We were discussing her career journey. It's so inspiring to see someone who's found contentment in simple work. The word simple lands like a physical blow, reducing years of supposed struggle to a character flaw disguised as acceptance. Tom's expression shifts to something resembling sympathy mixed with superior understanding. Nothing wrong with knowing your limits, he offers with the wisdom of someone who believes he's transcended his own. Not everyone can handle the pressure of climbing corporate ladders. Phone screens begin appearing at the periphery of my vision, classmates capturing snippets of conversation for social media documentation. They're recording what they believe to be a cautionary tale, evidence of how high school hierarchies persist into adult reality. The alcohol flowing through their systems loosens tongues and sharpens cruelty. Jessica begins sharing memories from our shared past, stories carefully edited to emphasize my supposed inadequacies while celebrating her own inevitable triumph. Remember junior year when Elena thought she could run for class treasurer? Jessica's laugh carries across the gymnasium like breaking glass. She was so earnest with her little handmade posters. Of course, everyone knew Ashley would win. She actually understood money management. The story transforms my teenage attempt at leadership into evidence of delusional ambition, suggesting I never understood my proper place in the social order. Ashley beams at the reminder of her victory, basking in reflected glory that burns brighter in contrast to my supposed failure. Tears form in my eyes, not from their words, but from the memory of my mother's dignity when she cleaned their family's houses, how she taught me that true strength comes from character rather than circumstances. These people mocked her honest work while benefiting from her labor, just as they now mock me while living on my secret generosity. The performance requires perfect balance, pathetic enough to satisfy their need for superiority, but not so broken that they lose interest in their game. I am walking a tightrope over an abyss of their own making, knowing that in minutes their world will shatter completely. But for now I let them feast on what they believe is my defeat. The sharp squeal of microphone feedback cuts through the gymnasium chatter like a knife, sending ripples of wincing faces across the crowd. Principal Williams stands behind a makeshift podium constructed from the same folding table that once held our homecoming dance ballot box. His figure slightly stooped but still commanding the authority that once made rebellious teenagers straighten their spines in hallways. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention please. His voice booms through speakers that have seen better days, the same sound system that announced our names at graduation 12 years ago. The crowd begins its reluctant migration toward rows of folding chairs arranged with military precision before a small stage decorated with faded McKinley High banners that smell faintly of storage closets and forgotten victories. I slip toward the back of the gymnasium, positioning myself behind clusters of taller classmates where shadows from the overhead lighting create perfect camouflage. Jessica's group has claimed prime real estate in the front rows, their designer dresses arranged like opening night at the opera, phones already positioned to capture whatever moments deserve immortalization on social media. Williams adjusts his reading glasses with fingers that shake slightly, age or anticipation, I can't determine which. His hair has surrendered most of its battle with time, leaving silver wisps that catch the stage lights and make him appear almost ethereal. But his eyes remain sharp, scanning the assembled faces with the practiced assessment of someone who spent decades reading teenage moods and motivations. 12 years, he begins, his voice settling into the rhythm that once delivered daily announcements and disciplinary lectures. 12 years since you walked across this very stage to receive your diplomas. Some of you probably never imagined you'd be back in these halls, sitting in these same uncomfortable chairs that haven't been replaced since the Carter administration. Polite laughter ripples through the audience, the kind of obligatory response that greets familiar complaints about institutional inadequacy. But Williams's expression suggests he's building toward something more substantial than nostalgic humor. Tonight isn't just about remembering where you came from, he continues, his voice gaining strength and purpose. It's about celebrating where you're going, and more importantly, it's about ensuring that future McKinley High graduates have the same opportunities for success that many of you have achieved. The crowd settles into more attentive silence, sensing the shift from ceremonial pleasantries to something approaching significance. I watch Jessica's profile from my position in the shadows, noting how she arranges her features into an expression of polite interest while simultaneously whispering something to Brad about the caterer's salmon being overcooked. This year's reunion is particularly special, Williams announces, his voice dropping to create intimacy despite the microphone amplification, because of an extraordinary act of generosity that will transform educational opportunities for deserving students for decades to come. A murmur ripples through the assembled classmates, the kind of speculative buzz that accompanies unexpected announcements at wedding receptions and corporate meetings. Phones rise like flags at a political rally, everyone suddenly convinced they might witness something worth documenting. An anonymous donor has established a foundation that will provide full college scholarships to McKinley High graduates for the next 20 years. Williams continues, his words carefully paced to allow their impact to register fully. We're talking about complete educational support, tuition, books, housing, everything necessary to ensure that financial circumstances never prevent a deserving student from pursuing higher education. The gymnasium erupts in spontaneous applause, the kind of genuine enthusiasm that money and goodwill naturally inspire. I join the clapping from my shadowy position, allowing myself the small pleasure of participating in appreciation for my own generosity while maintaining perfect anonymity. Jessica's reaction proves particularly interesting to observe. Her initial expression of polite attention transforms into something approaching hunger as the financial implications register. $2 million represents the kind of philanthropic gesture that elevates social standing and generates newspaper headlines. I watch her lean toward Brad with increased urgency, their whispered conversation taking on the intensity of emergency consultation. The amount committed to this endeavor, Williams pauses for dramatic effect, is $2 million. Gasps punctuate the applause as the audience processes this figure. $2 million exceeds the annual budget of most local charities, represents more money than many of these people will accumulate in their lifetimes, creates the kind of lasting impact that transforms communities rather than merely helping individuals. From my vantage point, I observe the various reactions playing across familiar faces. Some expressions show genuine admiration for unknown generosity. Others display the calculating assessment of people wondering if they might somehow benefit from this windfall. Still others reveal the slight envy that substantial anonymous giving naturally provokes. Who among us wouldn't want to possess both the resources and character necessary for such magnificent gestures? Jessica's whispered conference with Brad intensifies, their body language suggesting urgent problem-solving rather than celebratory joy. I catch fragments of their conversation carried by gymnasium acoustics. Don't know anyone. And, would have mentioned. And, tax implications alone. The foundation, Williams announces with obvious relish, has been established under the name that will ensure its permanent connection to McKinley High's tradition of excellence. The pause stretches just long enough for suspense to build, for phones to focus more intently, for conversations to cease in anticipation of this revelation. Williams seems to savor the moment, understanding that some announcements deserve their full theatrical weight. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing the Martinez Foundation for Educational Excellence. The name detonates through the gymnasium like a carefully placed explosive device. Jessica's face undergoes a transformation visible even from my distant position. Confusion followed by shock followed by something approaching panic as her married name echoes through speakers and settles into the consciousness of 200 witnesses. Brad's confusion proves even more transparent, his expression cycling through bewilderment, concern, and growing alarm as he realizes his wife's name has become permanently associated with philanthropic generosity that he knows nothing about. Their whispered conversation escalates into barely controlled argument, punctuated by gestures that attract attention from nearby classmates. Ashley and Brittany exchange glances loaded with implications and questions. Their expressions suggest wives processing unexpected information about their social circle's financial capabilities while simultaneously wondering why they weren't consulted about such a significant charitable undertaking. The applause continues around Jessica's growing distress. Classmates celebrating a generosity they assume originates from the woman currently experiencing what appears to be a minor nervous breakdown in the front row. The irony tastes absolutely delicious. My greatest enemies being celebrated for my greatest act of philanthropy while having no idea how to respond to the acclaim. The first recipient of a Martinez Foundation scholarship, Williams continues, oblivious to the drama unfolding in his audience, is Maria Santos, a graduating senior whose academic excellence has been matched only by her determination to overcome significant family hardships. Maria Santos rises from her seat in the audience, a slight girl with her mother's intelligent eyes and her father's stubborn chin, wearing a dress that was clearly purchased for this specific occasion and will probably serve as her formal wear for the next several years. Her mother works third shift cleaning downtown office buildings, the same invisible labor that supported my own education 12 years ago. As Maria walks toward the stage with tears streaming down her face, I watch Jessica's expression evolve from confusion to something approaching desperation. She leans heavily into Brad's shoulder, their whispered consultation becoming urgent enough to draw disapproving glances from surrounding classmates who assume they're discussing their own generous contribution. The second scholarship recipient, James Chin, represents another carefully chosen symbol. Sarah Chen's younger brother stands to accept recognition for his academic achievements despite family struggles following their father's workplace accident. The selection wasn't accidental. I wanted Sarah to understand exactly who was behind tonight's generosity, wanted her kindness earlier this evening to be rewarded with concrete benefits for her family. Sarah's eyes find mine across the gymnasium during the applause for her brother, her expression shifting from gratitude to growing comprehension. I see the moment when she begins connecting dots between our earlier conversation, the foundation announcement, and the systematic way certain deserving students have been selected for support. Other classmates begin their own calculations, looking between the celebrating scholarship recipients and Jessica's obvious distress with expressions that suggest increasing awareness that something significant is happening beyond simple charitable recognition. Questions multiply faster than answers, exactly as I intended. The foundation's shadow stretches across the gymnasium, touching lives and transforming futures while its true architect remains invisible in the darkness, savoring the approaching moment when shadows give way to blazing revelation. The scholarship ceremony concludes with thunderous applause, but I notice how Jessica's clapping sounds hollow, mechanical, her hands barely meeting as she goes through the motions of celebration. The crowd begins to disperse from their folding chairs, conversations fragmenting into smaller groups that buzz with speculation about the mysterious benefactor who just changed multiple lives with a single generous gesture. I watch Ashley and Brittany gravitate toward each other with the magnetic pull of longtime conspirators, their designer heels clicking against the gymnasium floor as they navigate through clusters of classmates toward the ladies' room. Their body language suggests urgent consultation rather than casual powder room conversation, shoulders bent inward with the intensity of shared secrets. Following at a calculated distance, I time my entrance to the restroom perfectly, slipping through the heavy door just as their voices rise above whispers. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows under their carefully applied makeup, making their expressions appear more severe in the mirrors above the industrial sinks. Don't understand how all of this happened so quickly, Ashley is saying as she touches up lipstick that doesn't need refreshing, her movements nervous rather than vain. Mike's promotion came out of nowhere. 3 months ago he was worried about layoffs and now he's got a corner office and a company car. I settle into the furthest stall, leaving the door slightly ajar to catch their conversation while remaining invisible. The metal latch clicks softly as I position myself to listen without being detected, my heart racing with anticipation of what revelations their confusion might produce. Brittany's voice carries notes of anxiety disguised as excitement. Derek's situation is even stranger. That management company contacted him directly, offered him a position that didn't even exist 6 months ago. The salary increase was so substantial we could finally afford to move the kids to Riverside Prep. And Brad's insurance agency, Ashley continues, her voice dropping to a whisper that forces me to strain against the stall door to hear clearly. He keeps saying the new parent company came out of nowhere, bought them out at above market value, then immediately gave everyone raises and better benefits. Who does that? The question hangs in the air between them, loaded with implications they can't quite grasp. I press closer to the gap in the stall door, watching their reflections in the mirror as they process information that should terrify them if they possess the intelligence to understand its significance. It's like someone's been watching our families, Brittany says, her voice carrying the first tremor of genuine unease. Think about it. Derek gets promoted just when Tommy needed orthodontic work. Mike's bonus covered exactly what we needed for the roof repairs. And those anonymous gifts. Ashley nods vigorously, her reflection betraying excitement mixed with confusion. The dance lessons for Emma, paid in full for the entire year. And that new baseball equipment that appeared on your doorstep. Top-of-the-line gear that would have cost Derek's entire monthly bonus. Someone knows our exact financial situations, Brittany whispers, her voice barely audible above the humming ventilation fan. Someone's been helping us without us knowing it. But who has that kind of money and that much information about our lives? I emerge from the stall with perfect timing, my appearance natural enough to seem coincidental while allowing me to witness their startled expressions. They immediately shift their conversation to safer territory, their voices brightening with forced casualness that fools no one. Elena! Ashley exclaims with theatrical enthusiasm. We were just discussing how wonderful tonight's been. That scholarship announcement was so inspiring. I approach the sinks slowly, allowing my movements to suggest someone exhausted by social interaction rather than energized by approaching triumph. It really was beautiful. Those students deserve every opportunity they can get. Their reflection in the mirror shows faces that study me with polite disinterest, clearly not connecting the woman they've been systematically humiliating with the mysterious benefactor who's transformed their lives. The irony burns in my chest like swallowed fire. We should get back, Brittany says, checking her phone with the nervous energy of someone avoiding difficult conversations. Jessica's probably wondering where we went. Back in the gymnasium, the atmosphere has shifted dramatically. The scholarship announcement has fractured the evening's social dynamics, creating new currents of speculation and curiosity that flow around Jessica like water around a boulder. I position myself near the memorial table, where photographs of deceased classmates serve as sobering reminders of mortality and missed opportunities. Groups of classmates huddle in animated discussion, their voices carrying fragments of theories about the Foundation's anonymous benefactor. Several approach Jessica directly, their questions becoming increasingly pointed as her denials become more strained and unconvincing. Come on, Jess, I hear someone saying as I drift closer to her position. $2 million with your name on it? You can tell us. We're all friends here. Jessica's laugh sounds like breaking glass. I wish I could take credit, but honestly we had nothing to do with it. Brad and I are just as surprised as everyone else. But her voice carries an edge of hysteria that wasn't there an hour ago, and Brad's protective positioning beside her suggests a man preparing for siege rather than celebrating unexpected honor. Their perfect evening has developed hairline fractures that threaten to become catastrophic breaks. I move through the crowd like smoke, collecting fragments of conversation and watching faces change as realization dawns at different speeds across different minds. The web I've woven over 3 years is becoming visible to those intelligent enough to recognize patterns, while remaining completely invisible to those who matter most. Tom Williams finds me during a quiet moment near the trophy case, his expression thoughtful in a way that suggests wheels turning behind his former quarterback confidence. Elena, can I ask you something? I arrange my features into mild curiosity mixed with social anxiety. Of course. That mortgage refinancing I mentioned earlier, the one with the incredible terms that seemed too good to be true? The paperwork came from Martinez Financial Services. His eyes search my face for reactions I refuse to give. Any chance you know anything about that company? I let confusion cloud my expression, shaking my head with what appears to be genuine bewilderment. I've never heard of them. But that's wonderful that you got such good terms. You deserve a break after working so hard. Tom nods slowly, but I can see him filing away this interaction for future consideration. His quarterback instincts recognize something significant happening beneath the surface, even if he can't yet identify what he's sensing. Sarah Chin approaches with her brother James in tow, the scholarship recipient still glowing with gratitude and disbelief. Her eyes find mine with an intensity that suggests understanding beyond what our previous conversations would justify. Elena, she says softly, positioning herself close enough for private conversation, I wanted to thank you for what you've done for our family. I begin to protest, but she continues before I can manufacture confusion. The timing, the selection criteria, the way the foundation focuses on students whose circumstances mirror what you experienced in high school. I'm not naive, and I remember how brilliant you were in Mr. Peterson's economics class. Her words carry weight that threatens my carefully constructed facade, but I maintain perfect innocence. Sarah, I work at Target. I couldn't possibly afford the Martinez Foundation for Educational Excellence, she interrupts gently. Named after the person who taught you that cruelty has consequences. I understand symbolism, Elena. And I understand justice. When Jessica notices Sarah's intense conversation with me, I watch paranoia bloom across her features like poison flowers. Her eyes dart between us repeatedly, her mind clearly racing to understand why conversations quiet when she approaches, why her name generates confusion rather than pride, why her perfect evening feels increasingly like a carefully orchestrated trap closing around her. The foundation's cracks are spreading faster than she can repair them, and I haven't even begun to demolish the structure of lies supporting her comfortable life. The real destruction is still to come. The real destruction begins with silence. Jessica's latest barb about my limited prospects and settling for less hangs in the air like smoke from a dying fire, but something has shifted in the crowd around us. The comfortable laughter that usually greets her cruel observations fails to materialize. Instead, uncomfortable glances pass between classmates who have spent the evening watching me endure systematic humiliation while processing increasingly disturbing information about mysterious benefactors and unexplained good fortune. I choose this moment of uncertain quiet to step forward, my voice cutting through the gymnasium's ambient noise with crystal clarity. Actually, Jessica, there's something I should probably mention. I pause, allowing my words to draw the attention of everyone within earshot, watching faces turn toward me with expressions ranging from mild curiosity to sharp interest. I'm not just Elena Rodriguez anymore. The pause stretches just long enough for confusion to build, for Jessica's confident smirk to falter slightly, for the growing circle around us to lean forward in anticipation of whatever revelation is approaching. Professionally, I go by Elena Martinez Rodriguez. Each syllable lands with deliberate precision, my voice carrying the quiet authority that comes from controlling boardrooms rather than standing behind cash registers. It's a combination of my maiden name and my ex-husband's surname, which I kept for business purposes after our divorce. The color drains from Jessica's face as if someone has opened a valve and let her confidence bleed away. Her eyes widen with the first glimmer of understanding, though she can't yet grasp the full scope of what this revelation means for her comfortable world. Brad's expression transforms from protective husband to confused prey, his mouth opening and closing without producing sound as he processes the implications of my hyphenated name. The Martinez Foundation for Educational Excellence. Martinez Financial Services. The mortgage company, the insurance agency, the careful web of businesses that have lifted his family from middle-class comfort to upper-middle-class security. Martinez, someone in the crowd whispers loud enough to carry. Like the foundation. I allow myself the smallest smile, the kind reserved for chess players who have finally revealed their winning strategy. That's right. I established the foundation 3 years ago when my little computer project generated enough capital to make meaningful contributions to education. Computer project? Tom Williams steps closer, his quarterback instincts recognizing a game-changing play in development. His voice carries the sharp interest of someone who has spent the evening putting together pieces of a puzzle he didn't know he was solving. Oh, just a startup I developed during evenings and weekends. I respond with the casual understatement that makes truly significant achievements sound mundane. Data analytics software that helped companies optimize their customer service protocols. Nothing revolutionary, just useful enough that Amazon decided to acquire it. The words, Amazon and acquire, ripple through the crowd like electricity through water. Several classmates who work in tech exchange meaningful glances, their expressions shifting as they calculate the implications of those simple words. Amazon doesn't acquire little projects. Amazon pays substantial sums for companies that solve real problems at scale. Jessica's voice emerges as a strangled whisper. How much? I tilt my head as if the question surprises me. Oh, enough to be comfortable. Enough to start the foundation, invest in some local businesses, help out where I can. The actual figure, $52 million, remains unspoken, but its presence fills the air between us like a physical force. Ashley and Brittany have materialized at Jessica's flanks. Their earlier bathroom confusion now transformed into dawning horror as they begin connecting dots between our conversation and their husband's mysterious good fortune over the past year. The foundation, Jessica manages, her voice barely audible above the gymnasium's background noise. You named it. After someone who taught me important lessons about character, I complete her sentence with gentle finality. Though perhaps not the lessons they intended to teach. The irony lands across Jessica's features like a physical blow, her carefully constructed superiority crumbling in real time as she realizes her married name has become a monument to her victim's triumph. The Martinez Foundation for Educational Excellence will operate for 20 years, helping deserving students while serving as a permanent reminder of tonight's reversal of fortune. I believe in giving back to communities that shaped me, I continue, addressing the growing crowd rather than Jessica's stricken face. Supporting students who remind me of my younger self. People who understand that dignity comes from character, not circumstances. Each word is carefully chosen to highlight the contrast between genuine generosity and performative wealth, between quiet success and loud superiority. The audience recognizes the subtext, their expressions shifting from confusion to understanding to something approaching horror as they realize they've spent the evening watching the systematic humiliation of someone who could probably buy their entire town. Mike Hartwell pushes through the crowd, his car salesman confidence evaporating as he approaches with the desperate energy of someone whose world is actively collapsing around him. Elena, the dealership where I work, Martinez Automotive Holdings bought us out 6 months ago. I prefer to operate through management companies, I explain with the patient tone of someone discussing basic business principles. Silent partnerships that allow existing staff to feel pride in their achievements while ensuring good jobs for hardworking people. The emphasis on hardworking carries unmistakable implications about who deserves support and who doesn't. Derek Cole appears beside Mike, his middle management confidence replaced by the pale realization that his corner office and substantial raise came from the woman he spent the evening mocking. The insurance agency, the office complex, the catering company. I continue ticking off businesses with the casual efficiency of someone reviewing a grocery list. I've found that investing locally creates sustainable employment while building stronger communities. Brad's legs seem to give out beneath him, forcing him to grab Jessica's shoulder for support as he processes the full scope of his dependence on my generosity. His promotion, his family's improved circumstances, their children's better schools. Everything that made him feel successful enough to mock my supposed failure has been funded by the woman he's been systematically humiliating. The social dynamic around us undergoes complete reversal as former classmates who watched my earlier humiliation with varying degrees of comfort now stare at Jessica and her crew with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. Someone near the back of the growing crowd whispers, "Oh my God," with enough volume to carry across the gymnasium, and I see phones rising again. But this time to capture Jessica's meltdown rather than my supposed defeat. I reach into my purse and remove the target name tag that has served as tonight's most important prop, folding it carefully before tucking it away as a souvenir of this performance. The plastic rectangle that symbolized their perception of my limitations becomes a memento of their own blindness and cruelty. The woman you thought you knew, I say quietly, my words carrying clearly in the stunned silence that surrounds us, never really existed. She was just a role I needed to play until tonight. The mask has come off completely, revealing not the failure they expected to find beneath, but someone they never possessed the imagination to envision I could become. Their comfortable world of superiority and casual cruelty has just discovered it was built entirely on the generosity of their favorite victim. And I haven't even begun to withdraw that generosity yet. The silence that follows my revelation stretches like a taut wire, ready to snap under the weight of everything left unsaid. Jessica's face cycles through expressions like a broken slot machine, shock, confusion, denial, and finally, desperate calculation as she searches for any angle that might salvage her dignity from this catastrophic exposure. "Oh my God, Elena," she exclaims with forced brightness, her voice pitched higher than natural as she attempts to rewrite 12 years of history in real time. "I always knew you had incredible potential. Remember how I used to say you were going places?" Her laugh sounds like breaking glass, sharp and dangerous to everyone within earshot. The crowd around us has grown substantially, forming concentric circles of witnesses to what has become the reunion's main event. Former classmates hold their phones at various angles, documenting what they instinctively recognize as a moment that will be dissected and discussed for years to come. We were just having fun tonight, you know? Jessica continues, her desperation becoming more visible with each word. Just like old times, joking around the way friends do. You understand that, right? We've always been supportive of each other. Her attempt to retroactively transform cruelty into playful banter lands with the hollow thud of lies spoken in front of too many witnesses. Several classmates exchange uncomfortable glances, their expressions suggesting people who have spent the evening watching systematic humiliation disguised as friendly nostalgia. Brad's hand settles heavily on Jessica's shoulder, his gesture intended as support but appearing more like an attempt to physically restrain her from saying anything else that might make their situation worse. His face has taken on the grayish pallor of someone processing the full implications of his circumstances. Every promotion, every bonus, every family improvement funded by the woman he's been mocking all evening. I'm actually proud to have my name associated with such important charitable work. Jessica plows forward with the reckless energy of someone drowning in quicksand. The Martinez Foundation, it has such a nice ring to it, don't you think? Really makes a statement about community investment and social responsibility. The irony of her words seems completely lost on her, but ripples of shocked laughter emerge from the crowd as people begin to grasp the exquisite symbolism of naming a foundation after your tormentor while remaining completely oblivious to the insult. I allow her to continue digging her own grave for several more seconds before responding with the kind of businesslike calm that transforms boardroom discussions into execution orders. Actually, Jessica, since we're being so honest with each other tonight, I should probably mention some recent business decisions I've had to make. My voice carries the measured authority of someone accustomed to delivering news that changes lives. Portfolio restructuring, you understand. Sometimes you have to make difficult choices about which investments align with your values. The crowd leans forward collectively, sensing that whatever comes next will be significant. Brad's grip on Jessica's shoulder tightens visibly, his knuckles white with tension as he recognizes the tone of voice that precedes corporate downsizing announcements. The insurance agency where Brad works, for instance, I continue with the same matter-of-fact delivery I might use to discuss weather patterns. Guardian Insurance Solutions will be closing their local branch next month as part of a merger with their parent company. The new structure won't require as many middle management positions. Brad's face drains of what little color remained as he processes this information. His recent promotion, the corner office, the substantial salary increase that allowed his family to upgrade their lifestyle. All of it about to disappear like smoke and wind. Mike Hartwell pushes closer through the crowd, his car salesman instincts recognizing approaching disaster. Elena, about the dealership. Hartwell Automotive is being sold to Premier Motors out of Chicago, I interrupt with gentle finality. Premier prefers to bring their own management team when they acquire new locations. I believe they're planning to complete the transition by the end of next month. Mike's confident posture collapses like a building with its supports removed. The sales manager position, the company car, the commission structure that finally made him feel successful. All of it built on the generosity of someone he spent years treating as inferior. Derek Cole doesn't wait for his turn, stepping forward with the desperate energy of someone trying to outrun an avalanche. The office complex where I work, Midwest Corporate Solutions, is relocating their operations to Tennessee, I explain with the same clinical detachment. Better tax incentives, more favorable business climate. They won't be maintaining a presence in this market after the move is complete. The systematic dismantling continues with surgical precision, each revelation delivered with the emotional weight of a grocery list while carrying the destructive power of targeted missiles. Their comfortable world isn't being destroyed so much as revealed to have been an elaborate illusion, sustained entirely by my invisible support. But surely there are other opportunities, Jessica interjects with rising panic, her voice cracking under the strain of watching her social circle's foundation crumble in real time. Your boutique is doing so well. Trace Chic operates in a building I purchased 6 months ago through Martinez Property Holdings, I mention casually as if discussing minor real estate trivia rather than delivering a death sentence to Jessica's business dreams. The lease expires at the end of next month, and we've decided to renovate the space for a different type of tenant. Jessica's mouth opens and closes silently, her designer dress suddenly seeming too tight as she struggles to process the implications. Her boutique, the small business that gave her identity beyond being Brad's wife, exists entirely at my discretion. Discretion she spent the evening systematically eroding through calculated cruelty. The renovation will create space for a community tutoring center, I continue, allowing myself the satisfaction of watching her dreams die in real time. We're particularly interested in supporting students whose families work in service industries. People who understand the value of honest labor. The emphasis lands exactly as intended, referencing my mother's cleaning work while highlighting the dignity Jessica's family never recognized in such employment. Several classmates nod approvingly, their expressions suggesting people who finally understand the evening's deeper currents. What about the children? Ashley whispers, her voice barely audible as she begins grasping the scope of their vulnerability. Their schools, their activities. The Martinez Foundation scholarship criteria are quite specific. I explain with the patient tone of someone discussing academic standards rather than crushing dreams. We focus on students who demonstrate genuine character, community service, and respect for others regardless of their family's social status. I pause to let this sink in before continuing with surgical precision. While your children are certainly academically capable, their scholarship applications included essays about leadership and compassion that seem somewhat inconsistent with the values I've observed from their families tonight. My smile carries no warmth as I deliver this assessment. Character references are quite important in our selection process. The implication hangs heavy in the gymnasium air. Their children's educational futures now depend on demonstrating virtues their parents have systematically failed to model. The sins of the parents visiting the children, justice served through the same educational opportunities they assumed were their birthright. Of course, there's always next year, I add with false encouragement, assuming they can provide better examples of the character traits we're seeking to reward. Brad's voice emerges as a strangled whisper. The mortgage on our house. Martinez Financial Services holds quite a few local mortgages. I acknowledge with the casual tone of someone discussing routine business operations. We'll be reviewing all our lending relationships as part of our restructuring process. Some borrowers will find their terms adjusted to reflect current market rates. The scope of my control becomes clear as I mention other assets almost in passing. The private school their children attend, the medical practice where their families receive care, the country club where they network and socialize. Each revelation represents another thread in the web they never realized had been woven around their lives. I haven't destroyed their comfortable existence so much as revealed that it was always sustained by my invisible generosity. The power they thought they held over me was nothing more than an illusion I allowed them to maintain until tonight. You see, I explained to the fascinated crowd, my voice carrying clearly across the suddenly quiet gymnasium, I've been the puppet master all along. Tonight, I simply decided it was time to let you see the strings. The reckoning is complete, but the real consequences are just beginning. The gymnasium has transformed into something resembling a courtroom after a verdict, with whispered conversations and the constant buzz of phones capturing what everyone instinctively recognizes as legendary footage. The evening's social dynamics have undergone complete reversal, leaving Jessica and her crew standing in the center of a widening circle of judgment while former classmates who witnessed my earlier humiliation now regard them with expressions ranging from shock to undisguised disgust. Sarah Chin breaks from the crowd first, her movement deliberate as she approaches Jessica with the kind of purposeful stride that suggests someone who has finally seen enough. Her voice carries clearly across the suddenly hushed gymnasium, each word delivered with the moral authority of someone speaking uncomfortable truths. How could you be so cruel to someone who's been helping our families for years? Sarah's question hangs in the air like an accusation, her tone carrying genuine bewilderment rather than anger. Elena has been anonymously supporting half the people in this room, and you spent the entire evening tearing her down for sport. Other voices begin joining Sarah's, creating a chorus of revelation as people piece together their own stories of mysterious assistance. Tom Williams speaks up from the back of the crowd, his quarterback voice carrying easily across the space. My mortgage refinancing. Those incredible terms that seemed too good to be true. That was you, wasn't it, Elena? His question receives nods and murmurs of recognition from others who have experienced similar unexplained good fortune. The medical bills after Jenny's accident, someone else adds. They just disappeared from our account one day. No explanation, no return address on the check that covered everything. My daughter's college application fee waivers, another voice contributes. Anonymous donations that showed up exactly when we needed them most. The stories multiply like ripples in a pond, each revelation adding weight to the crushing realization that Jessica has spent the evening publicly humiliating the very person whose generosity has improved countless lives throughout their community. The crowd's sympathy has shifted completely, leaving her isolated in a circle of her own making while surrounded by people she can no longer face with any dignity. Jessica attempts damage control with the desperate energy of someone trying to stop a landslide with bare hands. Her voice rises above the crowd's murmurs, carrying that familiar edge of entitlement that has served her so poorly tonight. I didn't know, she protests, her words tumbling over each other in their haste to reach sympathetic ears. We were just having fun, reminiscing about high school the way old friends do. Surely Elena understands it was all harmless nostalgia, right? But her words fall flat against the recorded evidence and dozens of witnesses who have watched her systematic cruelty throughout the evening. Someone near the back of the crowd, I can't see who, raises their phone and begins playing back video footage captured earlier, and Jessica's own voice fills the gymnasium with devastating clarity. Still single and working retail, her recorded laughter echoes off the walls, followed by Brad's contribution. Some people just never change. The audio continues with their mock job interview, their theatrical sympathy, their calculated cruelty designed to humiliate someone they believed couldn't fight back. The playback creates a moment of crystalline silence, followed by the kind of collective sharp intake of breath that accompanies watching someone step off a cliff. Jessica's face crumbles as she hears her own words reflected back, stripped of context and social camouflage, revealing the naked cruelty that has defined her character since high school. Oh God, someone whispers loud enough to carry. This is going to be everywhere by morning. The prediction proves prophetic as phones continue buzzing throughout the crowd, social media notifications multiplying as footage and commentary begin spreading beyond the gymnasium walls. Jessica's carefully curated image as a successful community pillar is dissolving in real time, replaced by evidence of behavior that will follow her family for years to come. Brad's phone rings with the harsh electronic tone that cuts through crowd noise like a blade. He answers with the desperate hope of someone expecting rescue, but his expression transforms quickly from hope to horror as he listens to whatever news is being delivered through the tiny speaker. Yes, I understand, he says, his voice hollow with defeat. Effective immediately. Yes, I'll clean out my office tomorrow. The call ends with the finality of a coffin lid closing, and he turns to Jessica with the expression of a man watching his comfortable life evaporate before his eyes. Mike's phone buzzes with a text message that he reads with growing alarm, his face cycling through disbelief, panic, and resignation. New management taking over Monday morning, he announces to no one in particular, his car salesman confidence completely evaporated. They're bringing their own team. Derek doesn't even need to answer his phone. The email notification provides all the information necessary. His corner office, his substantial raise, his newfound corporate authority, all of it disappearing with the same swiftness that originally brought these improvements into his life. I watch their faces as reality settles over them like a heavy blanket, seeing the exact moment when they fully comprehend that their comfortable lives have been sustained entirely by my invisible generosity they've spent the evening systematically destroying through calculated cruelty. Their wives stand beside them in stunned silence, processing the understanding that their financial security has just evaporated in real time. The crowd around us continues to grow as word spreads throughout the reunion, drawing people from other corners of the gymnasium to witness what has become the evening's defining moment. Former classmates who missed the earlier humiliation are quickly brought up to speed by those who recorded everything, creating an expanding circle of witnesses to Jessica's complete social destruction. I step forward into the center of this circle, my voice carrying clearly across the hushed gymnasium as I address not just Jessica and her crew, but everyone who has gathered to witness this moment of reckoning. Tonight was never about revenge. I begin, my words measured and deliberate. It was about revelation. I wanted you to understand what you had thrown away through your cruelty, what you could have had if you'd chosen kindness over meanness. I pause, letting my gaze sweep across the faces surrounding me, some sympathetic, others ashamed, a few still processing the evening's dramatic reversals. The Martinez Foundation will continue its work, supporting students who demonstrate character traits that some people never learned, even after 12 years to mature and grow. The reference lands exactly as intended, highlighting the contrast between Jessica's static cruelty and the genuine development shown by other classmates. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, I continue, my tone shifting to something approaching warmth as I address the broader crowd. You've helped me understand who in our class has grown into people worth knowing, and who remains trapped in the same patterns that define them in high school. The philosophical victory tastes sweeter than any direct retaliation could have provided. Jessica's punishment isn't physical or illegal. It's the natural consequence of character flaws that time and opportunity have failed to correct. I begin moving toward the exit, walking through the same doors I entered hours ago, but everything has fundamentally changed. Former classmates approach me with genuine apologies, heartfelt thanks, and requests to stay in touch. Offers based on respect rather than pity, recognition rather than condescension. Elena. Jessica's voice breaks behind me, cracked and desperate as she calls my name across the gymnasium. I turn back once, seeing not the powerful mean girl who terrorized my youth, but a middle-aged woman whose children will now learn that actions carry consequences, whose comfortable world has been revealed as an elaborate illusion sustained by someone else's generosity. I don't speak, there's nothing left that needs saying. The justice has served itself with the elegant precision of a perfectly executed plan years in the making. Outside, my driver waits beside the same modest sedan that carried me here, another prop I won't need again. The girl they thought they knew is gone forever, replaced by the woman I became through patience, planning, and my mother's wisdom about dignity in the face of cruelty. As we drive away from McKinley High, I remove the Target name tag from my purse one final time, holding it up to catch the streetlight. Tomorrow it will go in a frame on my office wall. Not as a reminder of tonight's victory, but as a monument to the power of choosing when to reveal who you really are. The reunion is over, but the real consequences are just beginning. Elena's masterful revenge had your heart racing. Smash that like button right now. My favorite part was when she calmly revealed the Martinez Foundation was named after Jessica. The perfect ironic twist. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Craving more epic revenge stories that deliver sweet justice? Subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss these satisfying tales.